Hi, and welcome to episode 3 of Containers, Pallets and Boxes. I want to say thank you before we get started to Dan and Gary, who did the Life of Interim in episode 2. That's, excuse me, that is on the YouTube channel. That's also on Spotify and available on LinkedIn. And people are subscribing, and I'm glad to see that the downloads are looking quite healthy. So that will only build. Right. So today we're going to be talking about power and rubbish, and we're going to talk about the procurement playbacks for greener, cheaper supply chains, and we're going to be focusing on energy and waste. Now, I have a guest with me who's a gentleman called Alex Hamilton, who works for Environmental and Technology. I think I've got that right. He's a director there. He has spent 12 to 15 years in the energy and waste industries, and he has got particular focus on energy the recent years, but a lot of feedback and experience related to waste. So did I get that right? Please introduce yourself, Alex.
You nearly got it right. So it's Enviro Technology Limited. So yes, I've worked in the waste and resources sector for 12 years. So I worked for two of the major waste management companies, looking after their large contracts and helping them develop, and then specialised in food waste and plastic waste. So I set up my own company 2 years ago, helping with the energy and waste and utility sector, helping customers cost reduction technology solutions and being more efficient in the way that they work.
Brilliant and welcome, and great introduction. I knew I'd got the name right as soon as I said it. So, right, a couple of easy questions then. What's the one energy or waste myth you'd ban from supply chains right now?
I don't know if I'd ban it, but I think one of the big myths back in the day, and it is still a myth, but is whether we can recycle coffee cups. And they can be recycled. It's just very difficult, very expensive. So a coffee cup has a metal sort of a piece within it, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to hold the cup, because it would be too hot with the boiling water, and that has to be extracted to be able to recycle both elements of the cup. So it's just expensive, difficult with all the millions of coffee cups there are. So it can be done, but it is a bit of a myth. So
very randomly, I've been to South Wales to a coffee cup production site in I'm going to say Magor. It was a long time ago. Right. Next question. Worst procurement decision you've seen that actually cost more than expected?
Yes, it was a company I worked for years ago where they took on a rather large contract that they weren't operationally ready to take. I think they thought they would be able to look after it, and unfortunately it didn't materialise that way. So my piece of advice there is ensure you can cope operationally before you accept multi-million-pound contracts.
Yes, indeed. Isn't that the truth? So, right. So let's start with energy first, right? I've got some stats here. Diesel price £1.40 a litre in late 2024. I actually filled up this morning and it was £1.37. So I managed to fill the whole tank and try and get as much in as possible, as you do. Electricity costs, I believe, are between 27 pence and 31 pence per kilowatt. And the SME average annual electricity bill is around £3,000 for a small business. Does that sound about right? Am I on the right line, sir?
Yeah, I think you're not a million miles away there. I mean, I remember only a few years ago that my sort of household energy bill was only about £1,200 or £1,500, and that seems to have doubled. And do not fill your car up on a motorway, because it's about £1.60 or 70, as opposed to, I don't know, I tend to find the cheapest ones are in the middle of London. You can get it for 130 something. So it's good to shop around, but prices do fluctuate, and there's a lot of things that make the prices change. But the market is the market. Wholesale price will be the wholesale price. It's then the cost of getting that energy to where it's got to be. So but there are influential factors that affect price. So we obviously have wars, unfortunately, in the Middle East, which are very sad to see unfold. But when energy infrastructure is being attacked, that has a direct effect as we import our energy in this country. So there's a lot of things that affect pricing, but we have to be astute. We could see that the price cap's gone up a little bit. I did read a report that the government's plan within their term was to reduce that, but it has gone up again. So I think it's a case of shopping around and making sure you're getting the best deal.
Cool. So you talk about cost reduction tactics, and actually the one that you said at the start about never filling up on a motorway, I can genuinely say that I've probably only filled up on a motorway twice in the last 2 years, and I get really disappointed when I do that for obvious reasons. So, and I think for many corporates, because I see lots of people in company cars parking up and fueling up, that's obviously one cost reduction technique. And
I agree. And I was just going to say on that, I've got a car now that's a hybrid, and I try and use the electric part, and I was going to run out of miles, so I had to fill up, but I only put a tenner in because I refused to pay the high price. And then when I got off the motorway, I filled up completely. But yeah, it's just a case of being aware of what you're doing.
And there you're getting into the fuel anxiety thing, which I know personally I have, and I'm sure
another conversation.
Yeah, that's a whole conversation. Okay, let's have a look at help me out with the cost reduction tactics. What are the levers? What are the technologies? And is it culture and training, I'm assuming, around that?
Excuse me, yes, I think it is. I think every business, every household, every scenario will be slightly different. So the most important part is if you're not an energy expert, is to get somebody to come and help you to do it. It's not expensive. You know, before you go and drive a car, you learn how to drive, and an expert teaches you before you're allowed to go on the road. And it should be the same with most things in life. So partner up with somebody that's going to be able to help you, to give you some good sound advice to make sure you're doing the best thing, because you're probably doing one thing where you could be doing something else. And the difference between the two is the saving. And I've been to see countless customers with energy and waste where they have received poor advice, and it's important to build that relationship and not to make that relationship with your energy provider or your waste provider just transactional. You know, a few months before the waste comes along, you think, oh, I'll get some quotes, get 5, choose the cheapest one, regardless of whether it's the current supplier, sign up. 2 years later, you start again. But what can you do in that period of time to reduce your cost? Do you have an energy management plan in place? Is the person that's helping you with your advice coming to see you regularly to say, well, you should be doing this, how are you getting on with this? And again, every scenario is slightly different, but get some expert advice, and make sure you've got an energy management plan for your business. There's some great advice online. It's not difficult, it's not complex, but definitely worth doing. So
and what sort of technologies are out there in terms of, you know, the top 4 or 5?
Well, there are some good technologies. Obviously, smart meters are good because smart meters enable you to look at what you're spending on a real-time basis, and all the energy suppliers will provide those. They're free of charge. Also, there's the opportunity to perhaps look at EV charging. I think that's something that can benefit. Again, it needs to be considered carefully because it can be costly to install, but there's a payback. Another thing, a technology that businesses are benefiting from is solar panels on a roof. Now, I did go out to see one company, and they'd spent a lot of time looking at solar panels only to find out that their roof wasn't strong enough to house the amount. So there's an awful lot to think about. Solar isn't just a case of I'm going to have some solar panels, they'll get fitted next week. You have to speak to your DNO, your distribution network operator, to make sure you've got enough power coming in to supply them. There's a whole project. It takes 6 months roughly to be able to do that. So a lot of consideration. There can be some upfront costs, so analysis on the payback. So again, if you have got that transactional relationship with your energy provider or your broker, it would be good to change that approach so that you can look at things like battery management, etc., etc. But each technology has to be looked at under its own merit to ensure that your business can cope with it.
It's really interesting what you said there about the not a transactional approach, and it's more of a relationship, because one of the things that is becoming big in supply chain is ESG and compliance, and I think that's really important within that cultural change. And I've also heard of battery management, but I'm guessing that's to do with the storage of the electricity. Is that right?
Yes, and I think from a procurement perspective, we all want to be sustainable. We all want to make sure we're releasing as least amount of carbon into the atmosphere and doing all the right things, which is very good. And we want to make sure we're getting the best service and the best price. But I don't think we should take shortcuts on service or on price for the sake of doing something that's not right. So building that quality relationship with the people that are advising you, because they're the experts, will mean that you'll be, from a procurement perspective, far better off in the long run. So.
Brilliant. I like that. And in terms of, I'm going to shout out a few things, technologies, I'm just going to ask whether it's payback, yes or no, or any caveats around it. So let's go with LED upgrades.
Yes, but look into it first.
Insulation and air sealing.
Definitely. And there can be lots of very simple, clever things that you can do. But again, it will be business specific to what you do. And I guarantee a lot of businesses will have missed out on those as well.
Okay, thank you. And rooftop and solar.
100% upfront costs, good payback, but make sure your roof is strong enough to hold them.
That's brilliant. Okay, so what are the top 3 questions you would ask your energy partner or broker?
I would ask them to provide me with an energy management plan. So what am I doing now? What could I be doing, and what would be the resultant saving? I would want to make sure that I'm getting the best rates. Are those rates flexible? i.e., will they change during the contract? Probably not. If you're a bigger business using millions of kilowatts of energy, then if you're purchasing flexibly, how does the trading element of that work? Very important. And ensure that you've got an energy management plan for your business.
Wow, that was really succinct. A lot in there to dissect. I like the trading element. Do you just sort of like touch on that, what that actually means?
Yes, so I think there are certain ways you can purchase your energy. You can purchase it in advance. You can purchase it day ahead, period ahead, 6 months, yearly ahead, however you wish to do that. Again, the strategic approach needs to be designed specifically to your business. If you're a low to medium user, you may choose to just fix your energy and purchase it for the 2 years at a particular time, so it doesn't change regardless of whether the energy price goes up or down. So again, it's quite an involved conversation if you want to deal flexibly, but certainly larger organizations that are spending gigawatts, millions of units of energy, it's worth having that conversation.
So, and there's a few things in there related to where a business is in terms of its plan, where the owners or directors are, where they want to take it, because I'm guessing some of the decisions are very strategic. So that's why it's not transactional, I'm guessing.
Correct. I mean, I went to see a customer recently that spend millions and millions and millions of pounds on their energy spend, and they have no energy strategy. So that's a great opportunity for us to start working with them to think about how they could develop a strategy and think about the huge amount of cost saving if they have a proper trading strategy and how they're purchasing their energy rather than looking at their current solution.
Wow. Okay, cool. Right. Let's have a look at waste. And I'm just thinking of the rubbish I put out at home. And I could be really cheesy and so talk about let's walk on the waste side. But I think that'll be the wrong thing. I just got that out there anyway because it came up on the AI that I generated, and I thought it was very cheesy. Right, types of waste. Clinical, hazardous, that I know, packaging, consumables. What have I missed?
Well, I think most people do think of it from a business perspective, but I think we mustn't lose sight of most of the waste collected and dealt with at processing sites is collected domestically from our houses. So it's important to think about how many bins we've got outside our house and make sure we're putting the right thing in the right bin. So typically we might have garden waste, we might have some plastic and cans, which they call dry mix recycling. We might have a food waste bin or a little caddy, and then we'll have what we call general waste. So I think the trick at home is to put as least amount of waste in the general waste bin as possibly can and fill up the other bins, because that's a resource and we can actually do something with that rather than, rather than taking it to a processing site and just burning it or whatever it may be. So,
and does this adage, well, clearly it's going to work on the commercial side. So it sounds to me that you need to think about how you audit and link it. Yeah.
Correct. And also recently, the rules are changing in the UK. So businesses, as of this year, have had to start segregating their waste streams in different containers, and waste management companies have had to help their customers do that. Now, they've been doing this in Scotland for years. Food waste cannot be commingled with other waste. It's just against the law. Get fined if you do it. And they're very, very good at not doing it. And all the food waste goes through anaerobic digestion plants, and that creates energy that goes back into the grid. The government own those, and it's working really well. And a little bit earlier last year, they did the same in Wales, and that's progressing. And this year, businesses started in the UK under the new simpler recycling rules. If you just Google simpler recycling, it's all on the government website. And then domestically next year, around the March, April time, we're going to start doing the same thing. So we all need to start thinking about what we're doing with our waste a little bit more pragmatically, rather than just the stuffing it in the bin and it just goes off to the bin men. So.
Okay, so I'm as if this is a scenario. Yeah? I'm a small to medium size business owner or director, senior manager within the organisation. Where do I start? What do I do?
I would start by speaking to your current waste provider. They should have engaged and started these conversations with you last year. If they haven't, I think you would probably have a problem. Or you could get somebody, a consultant like me, to come and see you to say, this is what you're doing, this is what you should be doing, and this is your resultant cost savings. So I'll give you a good example. I went to see just a £10 million business locally to me where I live. They were using one of the national waste management carriers, and they were putting their food waste and their cardboard in the general waste bin, and they were taking it away and charging them that price. So we had a look at what they were doing. We made some simple changes, and a bill that was nearly mid 30 something thousand a year, we got to under £10,000 a year because they were doing the right thing. So there can be some really significant savings if you do it properly. That might be quite an extreme example, but it was a good example. So it's important to, again, have that plan, a bit like the energy management plan, have a waste management plan for your business to regularly review what you're doing, what you could be doing. How can you get some extra waste out of that bin and put it into the resource bin? Are you getting rebates for certain waste? So again, everybody's different, but just get some viewpoints from your waste management company, somebody external to come and help you.
Oh, I find that really interesting. And one of the things that I've thought about is what I call the reverse logistics closed loop of supply chain. And I'm particularly thinking we're not very good at building products that we can then recycle. We all know about and computer, let's hope we do. And I think there's some real space there. And I'm going to put it to you that we could build more into the design of a product to allow that when it's at end of life for a particular scenario, that we could use it again somewhere else.
And another thing is unnecessary waste. I mean, one of my interests is food waste. If we look at food waste just in the UK, we create over 10 million tonnes of food waste. That's just waste in England. So if you think of a small car, say a smart car weighs a tonne, I sadly worked this out that if you had 10 million of them, and that would be cars back to back all the way to Australia, all the way back, and then halfway back again. and that's
Wow.
just this country. And I think there's a stat out there. I think it's very well known that if food waste was a global energy provider, it would be the third biggest. I think it's something like that. So it's a huge issue. And if you could just, and there were some great schemes nationally about how we redistribute, how we don't waste food, and also there's interesting items around packaging as well to reduce waste. But it's certainly something that's going to be considered, I think, over the next few years. So.
And I'm hearing from this there are potential, the paybacks are probably fairly reasonable and not scary because everybody thinks waste, it's going to cost me money.
Well, absolutely. So if you think, we were talking about the landfill prices earlier on. Every time you give your waste management company a general waste to take away, they're going to charge you to dispose of it. So the least amount you can put in that bin means that your waste bill is going to be less because they're collecting less bins, there's less weight to dispose of. So, and then if you can put that resource that is in the wrong bin into the correct bin, it's obviously a lesser charge to remove the bin and the disposal charge, plus that material goes into another product because it goes off for recycling. So it's common sense at the end of the day, and the simpler recycling rules will be good. It's going to take some time to get used to it, but I think it will benefit society and good habits as well.
And a quick one here, the supply chain industry, wood pallets or plastic pallets, or they have their merits?
Wood or plastic? Yeah, that's a good question, actually. So I worked in a business where we were using probably 150 wooden pallets a day. So you could argue that when those pallets went off to the customer, they never really came back to where they were. They were broken and disposed of. So that would become wood waste, but plastic, you could argue that you could force the return and the reuse. So I'd have to come back with a better answer when I've had a better think about it. But thanks for putting me on the spot.
Sorry, that wasn't my intention, but
that's okay. It wasn't in the script.
I know. I actually asked that question on episode 1, and whether something like wood or plastic, and the answer came back. Actually, both have their merits, and they do both have their merits. It depends on what you're doing. So, and I think, sorry to put you on the spot there.
That's okay.
Right. So, where are we? We were going to talk about. We've talked about the metrics. Okay. So, some closing questions for you. I'm going to shout out a few things and see whether you say yes or no. LED.
Yes.
Solar panels.
Yes, check your infrastructure and make sure it's feasible. Don't rush into it.
Energy management systems?
Very much so, and have an energy management plan for your business, no matter how small or big it is.
ESG and compliance?
Yes, very much so. Make sure you're compliant. Make sure that you are au fait with government legislation and changing rules and regulations. They always change. Make sure you know what you're doing, and lean on your professionals to help you if you can't do that.
So if you're not doing it now, what's your action plan?
Action plan, if you're not doing it now, is to engage with stakeholders within your business that may be experts in this field, or draw on the experts within your supply chain to help you. That's what they're there for, and they will want to help you. I know if somebody comes to you and says, I'd like some help with the logistics, you'd be delighted to go and see them. One of my customers comes to me and says, Alex, we need a bit of help with our waste, we're struggling. I'd be delighted to go and see them, because we want to help people be better at what they do, which results in cost savings, a leaner business, more time and effort and energy to do something else.
And I'm glad you said that, because that fits really nicely with this podcast, because we're passionate about supply chain and logistics. Some would say maybe a little bit of a geeky subject, but supply chain and logistics has got so many interesting areas. The environmental aspect, mega important. We all know about road miles. We all know about the packaging. We all know about reverse logistics, returns, broken pallets, all that sort of stuff. And, if there's anything we can do to create a better planet, and I'm really want that to happen. Alex, I'm going to say thank you for coming on. It's been really interesting. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah,
it's been really good. Thank you very much. So it's been really interesting. Never done a podcast before, so first one for me. So thank you for inviting me.
Great. And I knew you'd be good. And by the way, this podcast, it was just you and me, which is the first time we've done that, and I knew we'd be absolutely fine. I will put on YouTube connection to a link to your business. I'll do that on LinkedIn as well. If you, from a supply chain perspective, do approach myself, Spark Supply Chain Advisory, and the team. We can help with that, and we'll put you in touch with the right people, because that will help us. Next episode is in the plan. And there are on LinkedIn. Spark has put out stuff related to newsletters out now. Keep subscribing to this portal on YouTube. And my final comment before we say goodbye is, let's keep sparking supply chains, because that's what it's all about. I've been Alistair Yates, and thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you very much.